Hi there. This unit, number 6, is going to be all about nouns as both direct and indirect objects. You may have heard me talking about them in class, and now that we have subject and predicate behind us, let's start learning about what they are and what they do. Okay, so in the examples here of nouns and direct objects, you see the word football is used in both sentence 1 and 2. In 1, of course, it's the subject of the verb fell, but in sentence 2, Nigel kicked the football, it's the direct object of the verb kicked. So it's a word in the predicate that receives the action of the verb. And let's go and see how it's used. You see a couple of examples here. You can read them through and pause as you like. And when we get to the first activity here, I'm going to be asking you to remember what you see on the screen here. You're going to be asking yourselves after you read the sentence, what or who, right after the action verb. In other words, when you read a question like you see, when you read a sentence like you see in the frame, Carlton types his essay on a computer, you're going to ask yourself, Carlton types what? And then the answer, of course, is his essays, and essays becomes your direct object. In the following sentence, cold rain drove the swimmers indoors. You ask yourself, the rain drove whom? And of course the answer is the swimmers, so there's your direct object right there. It's a very easy test just to find out where the direct object is. Okay, so like I said, in activity 1, you're going to be writing down the verb and then writing down the direct object and linking it with an arrow, as you see in the sample here. Rory pushed a red wheelbarrow up the hill. So you're going to be putting an arrow from push to the direct object wheelbarrow. In activity 1, I would like you to do numbers 1 through 10. So you're going to write out the verb and the direct object with that arrow. You can pause your screen now. In activity 2, I just want you to do numbers 1 through 5. Remember there's A and then there's B here. That you just simply need to find out which one contains a direct object. It was explained before that those linking verbs, remember the forms of the verb to be, or any sensory words like should have, seemed like, felt like, appeared as, those do not take a direct object. So don't be fooled. So if you find a form of the verb to be or a linking verb, it cannot have a direct object. So pause your screen now and do the 5 that you see in front of you. Activity 3 has compound direct objects. So in each sentence below, you're going to be doing 1 through 10, only the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, etc. You're going to be writing out the direct object on the line, and if they have a compound, you're going to be writing that also, like you see in the sample B in front of you. He inspired fans and teammates with his courage. You ask yourself, what did he inspire? And the answer is fans and teammates. So you're going to be doing, remember, 1 through 10, but only the even numbers from activity 3. So pause your screen at an appropriate place as you complete those. Okay, now this screen that I'm showing you right now shows that sometimes nouns are used as indirect objects. And the very easy test to find out what an indirect object is not what or whom, but for whom or for what, or to whom or to what something is done. And then your answer will lead you right to the indirect object. So let's take a look. It says Aunt Jennifer made Fred some pancakes. So we know that she made pancakes, and that's your direct object, but for whom did she make them? And the answer is Fred. Fred now becomes our indirect object, and we mark that by using IO as opposed to DO. There are some sample sentences here that are correctly marked IO and DO, so pause your screen to just make sure you're reading them over correctly and that you're understanding the question is for whom or for what, or to whom or to what. In activity 4, there are 5 questions that I'd like you to answer, and what you're going to do is write out as you see in the sample, you're going to write out the verb, which is going to be underlined and for you, and then just write and circle the direct object. You're going to also, you're going to circle the indirect object because the direct object is in italics. Can you see that? It's generally the last word here, but you're going to be you're going to be circling the indirect object because the verb is already underlined for you and the direct object is italicized. So please pause your screen and do questions 1 through 5 on activity 4. Okay, now activity 5 asks you to underline. Activity 5 says underline the verb in each sentence. So you'll be doing that for all 10. Then you're going to write the indirect object and then the direct object. Remember, sometimes there are going to be compound direct or indirect objects. Some sentences do not have an indirect object. For this reason, it's a little bit more difficult. I'd like you to do all 10. If you feel confident and these come easy to you, then you're really understanding what a direct and indirect object do. So you can go ahead and pause your screen at an appropriate place as you complete all 10 of these. Okay, oops, uncovered that. Activity 6 wants you to rewrite each sentence, changing what you see in italics to an indirect object. Again, this is going to help us in our writing when we start using more interesting sentences and making them a little bit more fluent in our writing. So the sample said, did the principal offer a choice to the students? You can rewrite that to say, did the principal offer the students a choice? And you're using the students as an indirect object. So for activity 6, we're going to be doing numbers 1 through 10, pausing when we need to. And activity 7, I would like you to skip. Okay. Well, that's all for this screencast. The next one is on pronouns and antecedents. But lesson 6 is really important in case I've ever used that phrase direct or indirect object and you weren't quite sure what it meant.